Evening, everybody. It's 6:42, and this is your closing comment for Wednesday night, the 7th of June. It was a very interesting day. The Dow finished up 91, not much, really, 0.27%. And the NASDAQ was down 171 or 1.29. That was the biggest loser on the day. The S&P was more in favor with the Nasdaq stocks closing down 1633, only 0.4%, and the Russell was substantially higher again, up 3305. Or 1.78. Transports were the big winner, up 345 or 2.45%. So this is the Russell. This downtrend line looks a lot better on the weekly, but I really wanted to show you the daily for the extent of the trade, and I'm going to switch charts in the middle. Um, as you can see, we went from the lower Bollinger Band to the high upper Bollinger Band, came down again, tried it three times, never closed, closed below it once. Slightly higher low, higher high, and through the top, came back down, approximately the same low, pretty close. And then in the last couple of days, this is what happened. We went from 1738 to today's high, let's call it 1900. Um, that's a pretty extensive move, about 9.4%, which is tremendous. Very impressive. The volume is very impressive. Here's the problem: these are the companies that aren't, most of them are not profitable, and now are going to have to pay up for money as rates move higher. The bonds were down a point and a half today. These are the guys who can't just go to the window and issue more shares or, um, offer bonds into the market at a time where the government is going to, as I have been saying for a year, the government is going to crowd out the people that need to raise money from banks. And that's exactly what is going to happen. We have a $400 billion treasury auction, I believe, next week. And I don't know where they're going to find buyers, but, I'm just telling you. I'm going to switch for a second over to these charts, IWM. And as you can see, as I said, it's a little better on, this is the weekly chart. You can see that, clearly we have moved higher. Looking at it this way, we broke out and consolidated across here for the last 2.5 months and started up. The problem is with the daily, this is the move that we just talked about. It went through the upper Bollinger Band, and they were pretty narrow right here. As you can see, they're widening, which is somewhat impressive. Here's the problem: this is the unbalanced volume. They are as overbought here. They have not been this overbought since here. And as you can see, that's right around where we are, 188 or so. And that's where we broke down, and in 3 weeks went from 187 to 171. On the other chart, let's go back a little so that I can show it to you. Right here. These are the futures. The other one is the cash. So, we're right there. I'm not trying to be bearish, but the numbers just don't bear it out. And a look at the opposite side of IWM, which is RWM, you can see has fallen through the bottom, is back to an area of support, is dramatically oversold. Ease of movement has really come down, but you know, just saying this is difficult. Okay, I wanted to keep this chart up, these charts up, because I wanted to show you Hassie Corp, which had earnings today. Um, the stock has only been around now since late 2021. The high in its fourth week of trading was 102.95. Um, in today's market, regular hours, you can see it closed at 34.77, and that was down 72 cents. The earnings were a minor beat, as was the revenues. So that's pretty impressive. The problem is that all of their guidance is dramatically negative. It's coming from an overbought position here. This purplish line is the unbalanced volume. The red line is a linear regression that I use to see. And as you can see on it, when it gets stretched to the height, it comes back down. When it gets stretched to the bottom, it either consolidates or it turns right back up. Now we're overbought, and here's what happened in the after hours. It's pretty impressive, and it's a little easier to see on this black background. So the stock went from a high of 36.80 to a low of 24.54. The last on it is 26.80, and that 26.80 is down just under 25%. I'm not really sure what this company does. The description is infrastructure automation for multi-cloud environments. Anybody knows what that actually means? Direct message me or send me an email. I don't have a clue. Okay, let's get back to the futures. Go back to the listing. Today was somewhat of an interesting day. The oil was up. The grains were down. They have not reopened yet. Gold was down a little. Pardon me. Yeah, gold was down. The oil was up. Gold was down 23, and that was on the basis of the fact that the interest rates were substantially higher. The bonds were actually they've reopened already, down another 2/32, but they were down a point and a half today. So that's a pretty big drop. The silver was down 14 cents. The oil up. The nat gas was up a little. Bitcoin was down 6.55, but the fever seems to be broken on that one. We had Netflix, which closed up 48 cents, but hit a high of 418.95 early this morning and closed at 399.77. That's pretty close to the low. Let's give you a look at that just for the heck of it. So it closed up on the day, but on the low of the day, after bouncing off the upper Bollinger Band, it too is overbought. Ease of movement has not been higher on this in an age. Now, this is a great looking chart, but when you go to the weekly and you look where it's come from, this is a high of 701, cut down to 162. That's pretty big. Nice consolidation break, nice consolidation break, nice consolidation break, test, consolidation, higher, reversal. This blue line that runs through this chart is the 200-week MA. Okay, so there you have it. As far as another one, GameStop fired their CEO, reported a miss on revenues and a continued loss. The stock had closed at 26.11. That was up $1.47 um, in regular hours. In extended hours, let's go back to the daily. When they reported the beat, it jumped up. I'll show you what it looked like before the earnings. Had closed at 26.11 going into late hours. It rallied hard to the upside up to 28.98 and is currently 21.23, and that's down 346. It's also $8.50 off the high. So you look at 29, $8.50 is 45% decline from the high of the day to the low of the day. As far as the big names, they leaned heavily to the downside. The only two that were up was Netflix that I just showed you, and Tesla was up about 3.5. On the downside, we had Microsoft down 11, Amazon down 5.25, Nvidia down 12, Apple down 1.5, and Meta down 9. By the way, the late afternoon um, release at 3 o'clock of consumer credit showed continuing growth, 23 billion versus 21 billion estimate, and a revised 22.9 billion from last month. Tomorrow we have claims at 8:30. We have wholesale inventory at 10. It is expected to be down 2 tenths versus last month's zero point 0. And then at 10:30 we have nat gas inventories. All right. Drop me a direct message or an email and let me know how this looked to you, going back and forth between these different colors and different streams. I kind of have the feeling it might be an easier way to do this. Have a good one, folks. I'll be back in the morning.